Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second official Zoom podcast episode of the Cleveland Sports Show. I'm so happy, so excited to be back with all of you sports fans because sports has officially returned amidst the COVID pandemic. Obviously, lots of different protocols and procedures in place. We're going to get into all of that. We're going to go league by league, talk about the players, some updates, especially in the NBA, as all of the players have officially arrived in Florida. They've been practicing down there for a few weeks at the Worldwide Sports Complex in Orlando. But first, let's talk about MLS soccer, which actually is taking place at the ESPN's Worldwide Sports Complex in Orlando as well. In terms of the MLS, there is this official tournament that is known as the MLS is Back tournament. So how does this work? Well, all of the MLS teams, obviously, will be heading down to Orlando. And the way that this works is that they'll be using a bunch of different soccer field complexes in order to play their games. Some of the matches that have already occurred, two big wins for the Ohio teams yesterday. Cincinnati defeating Atlanta by a final score of 1-0, and Columbus getting a 2-0 win over the New York Red Bulls yesterday as well. Obviously, no fan attendance due to the coronavirus pandemic. This official tournament for the MLS will be taking place until August 11th. They started on July 8th. This tournament will be ending on August 11th. It's the MLS is Back tournament. ESPN has been broadcasting some games. Check your local listings as well. In terms of our matches today, DC United will be taking on the New England Revolution, Sporting Kansas City facing off against Colorado, and Real Salt Lake taking on Minnesota United today at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. More specifically, I did mention our Ohio team, so I can't forget about them. The Columbus Crew, as I mentioned, with a critical 2-0 win yesterday against New York. A week ago, the 11th, on Saturday the 11th, Columbus defeated Cincinnati. It was the Ohio Derby, if you will, Ohio MLS Derby. Columbus defeats Cincinnati 4-0. Now, for MC Cincinnati, they obviously lost 4-0 to Columbus. They had a huge bounce-back win, however, against the Atlanta United team, who has looked strong in these last few years, but appear to be reeling off now, especially with a red card incident early on in the game. Cincinnati with a late second-half goal to propel them to a 1-0 win. Cincinnati will be taking on the New York Red Bulls this upcoming Wednesday. New York trying to not let another Ohio team get the better of them in this Orlando tournament. We're going to keep our focus on soccer, but I want to move overseas. We're going to take a little trip across the Atlantic to, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, the Premier League, where it's a little more lenient in Europe. Obviously, coronavirus cases have not been as widespread as they have been here. The cases, especially in the United Kingdom, have started to dwindle down a bit. Teams will be playing their matches as regularly scheduled. However, there will be no fan attendance. There is no bubble area in the United Kingdom. All of these teams will be playing their games in their respective arenas, in their respective hometowns. The only difference is no fan attendance for right now. In terms of the specific Premier League standings, Liverpool is in first place, 93 points on the season, only 3 losses. Manchester City, though, 18 points behind them. Yes, I can do math. Sorry about that. 18 points behind them. 36 matches played. 24 of those 36 matches have been wins. Chelsea come in at third place at 36 with 36 games, 19 wins, 6 draws, 11 losses. Leicester City, who have been making a comeback this year, 18 wins, 8 draws, 10 losses on the season for 62 points. Tied with them are Manchester United with 17 wins and 8 losses on the season. The top scorers in the MLS, Jamie Vardy of Leicester City with 23 goals on the season, Danny Ings of Southampton with 20 goals, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang of Arsenal is in third place with 20 goals as well. He and Ings are tied for second, essentially. Mohamed Salah comes in the official third place rank. Salah of Liverpool with 19 goals on the season. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we can expect in the soccer world. MLS, with the MLS's back tournament, is headquartered in Orlando right now. All the teams will be playing, obviously no fan attendance due to the coronavirus. It's getting a little better in England. Obviously, teams able to play in their respective stadiums in their respective cities as well, just no fan attendance. This is all going to be extremely difficult for all of us sports fans to absorb, given the fact that there is just no fan attendance and we have to succumb to television to get our sports in. But hey, it's better than nothing. I'll say that. I want to focus our attention now to Major League Baseball. Obviously, if everything were normal right now, the Indians would be in the grind of their season, really in the middle of their season. However, it's not. This is not the case. These are unprecedented times. So what is going on with the MLB? Well, I'm glad you asked, because the MLB has released a schedule of what is going on. So there are going to be some spring training games coming this weekend. No fan attendance as of right now. I want to give you guys some updates on the Cleveland Indians and what they are doing. The Indians' schedule actually begins tomorrow on July 15th. They'll be in Pittsburgh taking on the Pirates for a spring training matchup. That game will be in Pittsburgh at PNC Park. No fan attendance. Same with the Premier League, same with the MLS. MLB is not allowing fan attendance, but they are allowing the teams to play in their respective arenas and stadiums like the Premier League is doing. After that game in Pittsburgh, the Indians will be in Cleveland again for a matchup with the Pirates once more. Official opening day for the Indians is next Friday, July 24th. They'll be at home at Progressive Field taking on the Kansas City Royals. First pitch of that game at 7:10 p.m. The Indians that game against the Royals will kick off a 3-game homestand against Kansas City. After that 3-game homestand, the Indians will have 3 more games at Progressive Field, this time against the Chicago White Sox. So the first 6 games of the Indians' regular season at home against Kansas City and Chicago, respectively. Same faces for this Indian squad, mostly Francisco Lindor, Mike Clevinger, Jose Ramirez, Carlos Santana, Oscar Mercado, Carlos Carrasco there for Cleveland as well. Preseason, don't forget, starts tomorrow. Indians will be in Pittsburgh to take on the Pirates at PNC Park. First pitch of that game tomorrow is at 7:05 p.m. Now, with these two gentlemen on my screen, you probably know what I'm going to talk about next. That's right, the NBA season is finally back. The original NBA season would have ended in June, obviously, with the NBA Finals, but with this coronavirus pandemic, the NBA has officially announced their plan. What they will be doing is they will have 22 teams in Orlando. Unfortunately, our Cleveland Cavs are not one of those teams. The 22 teams will be competing in some scrimmages just to get back in basketball shape. The official NBA season begins about 2 weeks from now. July 30th is the first day. The Jazz will be taking on the New Orleans Pelicans, followed by the Lakers and the Clippers. So a doubleheader on TNT, July 30th, starting at 6 p.m. So with these guys, James Harden and Russell Westbrook, these are guys, Houston's dynamic duo. I have a few teams I want to talk about here just to get us back in that NBA hype, and I'm going to be discussing the teams who I believe have a legitimate chance to create some competition in this Orlando bubble. First off, as we see, let's get started with the Houston Rockets. Russell Westbrook really is the key to Houston winning a championship this year. In the regular season, he's been averaging about 36 minutes, 28 points, and 8 rebounds and 7 assists. So not quite averaging that triple-double that he had been averaging the last few years in Oklahoma City, but still productive, especially alongside James Harden, who I'm very happy to hear. I've been hearing rumors that he's lost 20 pounds over this hiatus. And with this Rockets, their new version of the small ball lineup that Coach Mike D'Antoni has been emphasizing, this is going to help the Rockets greatly. With the faster James Harden, he'll be able to get to the basket more. We obviously know the threat he is from the three-point land as well. You obviously have Westbrook, who is fast in his own way as well, just can create offense. Westbrook, not a great shooter, but when you have guys like Robert Covington, Eric Gordon on your team, it does compensate for that. But I'm very excited to see the Houston Rockets, especially with James Harden losing all that weight, probably should be a faster player now. Let's see how this small ball lineup will work with the Rockets in Orlando. Let's move on now to the Los Angeles Lakers. Yes, that is J.R. Smith in a Los Angeles Lakers practice gear. JR was officially signed by the team a few weeks ago, and sorry about that. And a few weeks ago, he gave an interview as well after his first official practice with the Lakers. In this video clip, JR discusses how difficult it might be to ingratiate himself in an NBA offense and defensive system, having not played in almost a year and a half. The last time he played, he was with us in Cleveland with the Cavs a year after LeBron had left. So in this clip, JR explains how he is going to ingratiate himself with an NBA team and how LeBron, now that he's on the Lakers, might be able to help him with that.
I mean, it's definitely going to be a challenge because obviously I haven't played with these guys. I haven't been around them as much. I obviously watched the games and been to a few games and seen them play, but it's different once you get out there knowing guys' tendencies, knowing guys going to cut or they like to shoot the ball or stuff like that. So that's a little bit different. But for me, it's fortunate because I've never been the guy to really try to set up guys anyway. That's pretty much Bron, and it'll be AD's job. So for me, it'll be, get to the corners, space the floor, play defense as much as possible, and just try to stay out the way.
And JR definitely won't be staying out of the way at the three-point line. JR, obviously known for his three-point abilities. In terms of the Lakers, we've heard that LeBron is in great shape. Anthony Davis is ready to play in Orlando. The one side note for LA, though, is they are without Rajon Rondo, most likely for this tournament in Orlando. Rondo had thumb surgery this past Sunday and will likely be out for the next 6 to 8 weeks. A lot of people say that Rajon Rondo is the only other real facilitator on the floor other than LeBron. We'll see who might be able to step up. Maybe it's Alex Caruso, possibly J.R. Smith. Obviously, we have LeBron as a playmaker for the Lakers as well. But we'll definitely keep an eye on that, especially with the Lakers front court of LeBron and Anthony Davis looking to have some success here in Orlando. Let's move on to our next team. We're going to go to the Eastern Conference now and talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. So some major news with Philadelphia. Ben Simmons has been practicing. As you know, Ben Simmons is a point guard, but he's been practicing his positioning at the power forward spot these last few practices. Simmons is really more of a forward build. Those of you who have seen some Sixers games this year. And a lot of people, including myself, really like this transition. And I brought up the Sixers roster to show you why I like this transition. Now, obviously, with Ben Simmons moving to the power forward position, you need a point guard to take his place if you're the Sixers. And I've been hearing a lot of news and rumors that Shake Milton, a guy who scored 39 points against Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and the Clippers in March, Shake Milton will be taking that point guard position. Shake Milton is one of the better shooters on this Sixers team. And if the Sixers need anything in Orlando for these upcoming weeks, it will be shooting. I really like how the Sixers starting lineup will look. I would think Brett Brown would have Shake Milton at that point guard spot, obviously. You have Josh Richardson, who's got traded from Miami. He's had a strong season, 15 points per game, 4 rebounds a game. He's been solid for Brett Brown this season. You're going to have a backcourt of Shake Milton and Josh Richardson, which I like. Your front court, you have the all-star Tobias Harris along with Ben Simmons. That's an effective front court. And then obviously Joel, the process, Embiid in at that center position. Now, many of you might be wondering, well, what about this guy, Al Horford, a former Celtic? What I like about this move is that now there's a lot of pressure off of Al Horford. You can make Al Horford your secondary center, your center behind Embiid to come off the bench, because now you can have someone like Raul Neto and Furkan Korkmaz, who's a quality shooter. This guy can shoot the ball. I really like Korkmaz as a player. You have him as your shooting guard, your secondary shooting guard. You have Raul Neto coming off the bench as your secondary point guard, Al Horford as your secondary center, and then we'll see what happens. I don't know if Alec Burks might be a forward or if he moves to guard and they move Korkmaz at the forward. It'll definitely be interesting to see, but I definitely like how the Sixers are built. We obviously have Glenn Robinson III as well. He'll play in a secondary forward position, I would think. I like how taking Ben Simmons into the power forward position takes pressure off of Al Horford, because Al Horford had been struggling this year. It's one of his worst career years in general, had some career lows this year. But now with him being a secondary center and being that's the position he really has the most experience with, it'll definitely help the 76ers. And I'm expecting some great things from them down in Orlando. Let's move on to another Atlantic Division team, the Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum has been a star this year. He's averaged about 35 minutes a game, shot about 45% from the field, averaging about 24 points per game, shooting about 40% from the three-point line as well this year. And he's been grabbing about 7 to 8 boards per game. The Celtics, before the NBA was suspended, were third in the Eastern Conference. They'll have some tough challenges in their first few games in Orlando. Starting off in 2 weeks on the 31st, they'll be taking on Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks, who look healthy, ready, and hungry. They'll then be going up against Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, and the Portland Trail Blazers before a tough matchup with Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. We've seen Miami, who were the 4th seed this year. They've really come out strong. Guys like Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero. I really like how this Miami team is looking as well. So the Celtics are going to have their hands full in these next few games, but they also have Jaylen Brown, who this year has been averaging about 34 minutes, 20 points per game, shooting about 50% from the field, 38% from three-point range. So those are numbers that are very similar to Jason Tatum's. I'm definitely looking to see what the Celtics are also going to do in terms of that center position, because that's a position that they have been lacking and have been thin on throughout this season. I just mentioned Al Horford. I was thinking about this for the last few days. I don't know why Al Horford honestly left Boston. I feel like this was the year they really needed him the most. they're really struggling without a center. And I think Horford could have gone back to all-star status this year. He was an all-star in 2018. The Celtics had a rough season in 2019 with Kyrie in his second season in Boston. Nothing was working out for them. So Al Horford wasn't an all-star in 2019. And he wasn't an all-star this year either. So I definitely think Al Horford, if he stayed in Boston, could have made he may have had the best season of his career there. Given that, Kemba Walker has been solid for the Celtics, Jason Tatum is having a career year, and Al Horford was the glue guy for the Boston Celtics. He was the guy who kept everyone together in that locker room, who would kind of be a voice for Brad Stevens as well. So as much as I think Al Horford can be successful in these next few weeks with the Sixers, I definitely question why he went to Philadelphia when he could have had probably maybe his best season in Boston, given the fact that Boston does not have a center right now who can play consistent minutes. I like Enes Kanter. I like Daniel Tice, but they're just not playoff caliber centers or guys I want to be playing for extended periods of time. And Al Horford's a playmaker. Al Horford can be your point center if you want sometimes. The way he can handle the ball, the way he can shoot. I definitely think he would have had a great year with the Celtics, but you never know. Let's move on to our next team, the defending champions, the Toronto Raptors, and this guy, Pascal Siakam. Siakam has had a very strong season with Toronto, possibly winning another, most valuable player or most improved player. He was the most improved player last year. I don't think he should get it again. I think Brandon Ingram deserves that of New Orleans. But Pascal Siakam this year has been averaging about 24 points per game, shooting about 46% from the field and 36% from three-point range. And in this interview he did a few weeks ago with the Raptors media and the Toronto media, Pascal discussed some of the skills that he's been working on over this hiatus and how he might be able to ingratiate that with the Raptors offense in Orlando.
Well, I think for me, obviously, after sitting around for a long time and not being able to shoot the basketball or play basketball, I think, it's just being able to get out there on the floor, just run a little bit, make sure that I, get my shots up, work on things that I'm going to see in the game, from pick and rolls to, different actions that we run and throughout our offense and just variation of ways to score. But I think, the more action that I can have and the more options, and different ways I can have scoring, the better for me and my team.
Great. Thanks very much, Pascal. Appreciate it.
And Siakam has a partner in crime in Kyle Lowry. This year, Lowry's had a very strong season, averaging about 20 points per game in 37 minutes. Toronto's point guard also shooting about 35% from three-point range and dishing out about 8 assists per game, 7 to 8 assists. So with this duo of Pascal and Kyle Lowry, really interested to see how are the Raptors going to be able to find consistent scoring. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard last year was really the guy they would go to in crunch time. This year, I'm really interested to see who they're going to go to in those waning moments. Is it going to be Siakam? Are they going to go to Lowry? Or may they use someone else? Terrence Davis III, maybe. Marc Gasol is a veteran NBA player. So Fred VanVleet had a great final series last year against the Golden State Warriors. So, again, I'm going to be interested to see who is going to step up, who is Nick Nurse going to have step up in those crunch time moments for Toronto. And last but certainly not least, my next team and final NBA team that I want to discuss heading down to Orlando is the Brooklyn Nets. Now, when this NBA tournament starts, the Nets are not going to look like the Nets who we've come to know and love for this past season. There's some of the players that will not be attending the tournament in Orlando. Kyrie Irving, who ended the season on February 1st of this year with a shoulder injury, may have been a knee injury, will not be playing. Kevin Durant was out for the entire year anyway. Spencer Dinwiddie will also not be in Orlando after being tested positive for some symptoms of coronavirus. DeAndre Jordan will not be in Orlando either. So lots to discuss with the Nets. They did sign one of my favorite players in the NBA. He's back, Jamal Crawford, who in his latest NBA game back on April 9th, 2019, he scored 51 points against the Dallas Mavericks. That was Dirk Nowitzki's final home game in Dallas, and Jamal Crawford, as a Phoenix Sun, dropped 51 in front of the Dallas crowd, reminding them who Jay Crossover really is. I love this pickup. Jamal Crawford is one of the best basketball players, in my opinion, just how graceful he is with the ball. His shooting mechanics, extremely consistent. This guy can hit tough shots, and what a lot of ESPN analysts have been saying, Kendrick Perkins being one of them, this guy can create his own shots. The Nets need, more than anything, what they need is a shot creator. Obviously, guys like Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant would have been those options, but due to their injuries, they need a shot creator. Jamal Crawford is the perfect guy for this. He can create his own shot whenever he wants, or he can dish it out to other players. Joe Harris is a phenomenal shooter for Brooklyn. I also like what Karis LeVert has been doing this season. This is a guy who can play either a guard or a forward, to be quite honest with you. His drives to the basket are unique, and he can finish in a variety of ways. I also like this pickup in Tyler Johnson, a former Suns guard. This is just another guy who he's a playmaker, but he can also score. I like his ability to facilitate on the offensive side of the ball, and I'm going to be interested to see how both Tyler Johnson and Jamal Crawford can intertwine their basketball skills if they are to be playing on the floor at the same time. Jacques Vaughn is still will still be the coach of the Nets. However, there have been rumors saying that either Tyronn Lue or Mark Jackson might be taking head coaching positions in Brooklyn. I've been hearing, that Mark Jackson, who is he's actually from New York, he's from Queens, has been considered for that role. Mark Jackson right now is obviously a broadcaster for ESPN and ABC, and Tyronn Lue is actually an assistant coach with the Los Angeles Clippers. A lot of people think Tyronn Lue should be getting the job because Tyronn Lue obviously has worked with Kyrie Irving, has won a championship with Kyrie Irving, and also has that ability to manage egos. He was able to manage those egos on the Cavs team with obviously LeBron, Kyrie, Kevin Love going all the way down the roster. And he had to take over the team in mid-season that championship year. After David Blatt got fired, Tyronn Lue was asked to make the Cavs better. And the Cavs were the top seed in the Eastern Conference at that time they fired Blatt. And Tyronn Lue made them better by winning an NBA championship. A lot of people want Mark Jackson because, as I mentioned earlier, he's from New York, he's from Queens, and Stephen A. Smith has talked about how New Yorkers need a voice to engage with. And if that voice is a local voice, a local product, it will definitely be something that the Nets will strive to hear from. Once again, I'll be honest with you. Aside from the other teams, I don't give the Brooklyn Nets a lot of hope for this Orlando tournament. Not because I think they're a poor team. I just think that without your two superstars in Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, it's going to be hard offensively. Don't forget, Jamal Crawford is 40. He can't really do much. I know Vince Carter, he just finished his final season. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Jamal Crawford next season. I feel like he's just going to be used for Orlando. He probably will never play a game at the Barclays Center, unfortunately, as much as I'd love to see that. But unfortunately, I don't have a lot of hope for this Nets team in Orlando. We're done with the NBA, but we're not done with basketball quite yet. The WNBA is officially back as well. Their regular season would have been going on this summer. Next Saturday is when games officially begin in the WNBA. The Seattle Storm will be taking on the New York Liberty. The Los Angeles Sparks will be in Phoenix to take on the Mercury, and the Fever will be in Washington, D.C. for a matchup with the Mystics. Just obviously, as you would think, no fan attendance is allowed. There is no bubble either for the WNBA season. All teams will be playing in their respective arenas in their respective cities, but obviously no fan attendance. So next Saturday, you have your WNBA season kicking off with Seattle taking on the Liberty in New York. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes our basketball discussion, or our basketball portion of the show. Let's move on to our third and final portion of the show, which is the NFL and our very own Cleveland Browns. So let's start with the NFL as a whole here real quick. The NFL right now, it's all systems go. As of right now, we haven't heard anything. Obviously, the regular season doesn't start until September. Their preseason games, which I have here for you. This is for the Cleveland Browns, obviously. But right now, it's all systems go in the NFL. I would assume that fans will not be allowed to enter stadiums, or it will be just a few number of fans allowed to enter the stadium, because I just don't see within the span of 2 months how we're going to have – it's not going to happen. We're not going to have tailgating or, arena packed with fans. It's not going to happen with the current state of the coronavirus. So I would assume that there will be procedures and protocols implemented with the NFL. The question mark to this is, when will those protocols and procedures be announced, and when will they be in place? But as of right now, it's all systems go. In terms of the Cleveland Browns, let's get you some news on them. Myles Garrett, a few days ago, signing a 5-year, $125 million deal. This was a guy who last year, in the 2019 season, had a total of 10 defensive sacks before his suspension after a November 14th incident with Mason Rudolph and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Garrett was suspended for the remaining 6 games of that NFL season. However, he has now been cleared to play. His suspension has been his indefinite suspension has ended, and he's ready to go for Cleveland. More news with the Browns. Jordan Elliott also has been signed. Jordan Elliott, who is out of Missouri, a defensive tackle. He was in the 3rd round, 88th overall pick by the Browns. He started in 12 of his 25 career games with the University of Minnesota. So another strong pickup for Cleveland. And the 10th pick for the Browns in this year's NFL draft, Jedrick Wills Jr., has officially signed his rookie contract. More specifically, his rookie contract is a 4-year, $20 million deal. So that's $5 a year as an NFL rookie. Not bad for just coming out of college. Let's talk about the Browns' schedule real quick here. The Browns will be in Chicago on August 15th at Soldier Field, for a matchup with the Bears. They'll then head north to Wisconsin and Green Bay for a matchup with the Packers. After that, the Browns will return to First Energy Stadium in Cleveland to round out their preseason, first with a matchup against the Minnesota Vikings and then against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And ladies and gentlemen, that officially concludes our Return of Sports Zoom special podcast. Before we go, I would like to announce what I've been doing these last few months in the Nordonia Hills media community. If you haven't seen any of my work, whether it's been me writing articles or other Zoom episodes, you can find all of my work on my Twitter page. If you just go to @NordoniaSports, it's right here, or you can type in my name, spelled DARAYUSSETHNA, on Twitter. I post all of my work here, everything I do, from articles that are on NordoniaHills.News that I write. I've been doing some sports bios. I just finished one on Tony Parker. I did one on David Beckham. I put the link right here for you to go right to that article and maybe learn something about a player who you don't know very well. I did one about Giannis Antetokounmpo the other day. So all my episodes, all my audio recordings, all of my articles will go here on my Twitter page. Another place you can access my work is on SoundCloud, on the Cleveland Sports Show SoundCloud channel. I just did, about a month ago, I wrote an article and recorded the audio from an interview that the Cleveland Clinic did with Kevin Love in a series they call Ideas for Tomorrow. I also, thanks to Julie D from the Nordonia media community, she gave me my own page of work on NordoniaHills.News. So if you head to the NordoniaHills.News website, you'll see here in the contributors section, I'm the second one down, and here is where you can access those same articles. I've been writing articles for the last few months. I've been doing some player bios. I wrote an article on that Kevin Love interview I was telling you guys about. I did a Zoom special about LeBron versus Jordan and the Last Dance documentary that aired on ESPN a few months ago as well. Another place you can access the Cleveland Sports Show is Spotify. That's right. If you're on the road, you're in a plane, and you're just so bored, you have nothing to do, well, guess what? I have saved you with my Cleveland Sports Show Spotify channel. Similar to my SoundCloud, this is where all the audio is posted. All my episodes, interviews that I record and share with you to write articles on, those are all on here as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me tonight, or whatever time of day it is for you, for this Cleveland Sports Show Zoom special. Lots of things to be happy about with the return of sports. In the meantime, until we are back to normal, stay safe, wear a mask when you go out in public. Mike DeWine, our Ohio governor, said that a few days ago. It is crucial for you to wear a mask. So whenever you do go out in public, make sure you are doing that as well. Everyone, stay safe. Thank you so much for joining me this Friday for our Cleveland Sports Show Zoom special. Really looking forward to all of the sporting events that will be going on in these upcoming weeks. Until our next video or audio recording, stay safe, wear your mask, and have a terrific evening. Thank you.